All right, a lot to get through. Joining me now, Sky News political editor Andrew Clennell. Andrew, welcome as always. Safeguard mechanism, I'll put that to one side. I've got an expert industry person coming up to talk to me in a moment, but housing, a lot of a big fight today. Government struggling to get that $10 billion housing fund up. Where's it up to?
Oh, I don't think it'll get up. And I think that was the expectation I reported earlier in the week. I think they're happy enough with safeguards mechanism through. I don't think this has a snowball's chance in hell this week. So they park it, essentially. I don't think they'll be using it for a double D trigger either. They're not that keen on a double D. They'd rather a half Senate election. Again, thanks very much. So maybe that's the end. We'll see. We'll see if they come back with something later in the year, but I've got no expectation of that. I think, to be honest, they've done pretty well getting all the other bills through, given the coalitions oppose them. But the danger from that also is that you get accused of being in bed with the Greens on everything. Certainly not on this occasion.
Right, talk to me about New South Wales. It doesn't look like they've got a majority yet. I'll get an update from Tom Clennell in a moment. Interim ministry, though, sworn in. Whatever happens, it will be a Labor government, whether it's majority or perhaps even minority. Chris Minns, big smile. That's to be expected. He says he wants to hit the ground running. Let's have a listen.
My team and I are ready to hit the ground running. We know there's a big responsibility and we can't wait for those responsibilities of office.
He talked about Narrabri. You know, they want to move on Narrabri. It's been 10 years logjam planning approvals. That then runs against the messages coming out of federal Labor. What's going to be top of his agenda? Is it going to be the pay increase to public sector workers? Where do you think he'll go?
I think it's energy policy and the pay increases for sure. And the pay increases are going to be problematic because the unions can bully Labor as much as they did the coalition, Peter, except this time they'll be able to say, well, we supported you into office. So I'm expecting some stoushes there and the government to roll over on a few things. That's going to be an interesting space to watch in the next year or so. Public sector wages grew out of control under the last Labor government, even as Labor treasurers were trying to rein them in. On energy policy, they do think that Matt Keane hasn't done enough in that space, and I expect them to attack his record and to try and come up with some fixes, and it'll be interesting to watch that area as well. But yeah, they've got a big task ahead. There's not a lot of experience in that team. Experience as staffers, yes. I mean, he was a chief of staff to a minister, Chris Minns himself, and experience in opposition, not so much in government. And be interesting to see if they keep Michael Coates-Trotter at the helm of that public service. That's Tanya Plibersek's husband. He's still there at the moment.
Yeah, it's interesting you make the point about Keane and delivery because he's big on the pronouncements, stuff that's on the long finger, you know, net emissions reduction by 70% to 2035. That's a good example. But on the delivery of energy, affordable, reliable energy into the grid, dealing with the closure next month of Liddell and obviously Araring down the track, that's where, and I mentioned before Narrabri, that's where he's been found wanting. And I guess that's the low-hanging fruit they've really got to jump into fast. Who's going to lead the Liberals now?
I think Mark Speakman's the favourite if he puts his hand up. I think he's got the most experience and he's probably the best bet, but he'll be a bit of a stopgap leader. I mean, he's in his early 60s. There's not an election for 4 years. It'll be tough for that to be winnable. But at least he'd be doing the party a service because he's got the experience and credibility to do it. If it's not him, I think it'll be Alistair Henskins. And Anthony Roberts put his hat in as well, but I don't think anyone's taking that candidacy seriously.